Now, say you are considering a gap year. What can you do with that time? What's up, YouTube? I'm Nick the Tutor, and today I'm here to tell you all about gap years, what that means, and how it plays into college admissions in 2020 and 2021. Let's go. All right, guys, if you want to learn more about this kind of content, if you want to learn more about the SAT, ACT, and the college process, definitely subscribe to my channel. I'm Nick the Tutor, and I own a company called Curvebreakers Test Prep. We're a national tutoring company. We work with students online, work with a number of school districts as well. So I'm a trusted source for this kind of information, and I'm bringing it directly to you through YouTube. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. The comments in my TikTok have been absolutely blowing up about the concept of a gap year. I did a video about it recently. It's got about 400,000 views already because the idea of a gap year, one, is very foreign to people. Like, what does it actually mean? It sounds like something that's like a slacker kind of vibe, you know, just take a year off, which it's actually not. I'm gonna explain what it means. And number two, how does that affect college admissions and the whole college process? So those are the two things I'm gonna teach you today. One, what a gap year is, what some of the options are, and number two, how this is gonna play out in years to come. I think it's a little bit hard to predict, but hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have that figured out. At the end of the video, I'm gonna give you the full opinion, or my full opinion rather, of how this is going to impact the admission chances of students in 2021. So you should definitely watch this all the way to the end, because that last point is gonna basically be, how is this going to affect me if I'm a student in 2021 or 2022 or 2023? So as many of you know, the coronavirus has shut down colleges, high schools, and pretty much all businesses. So obviously that's extremely unfortunate. And what it's caused is it's caused a lot of students to reconsider whether they want to go to school in the fall. It's kind of unknown at this point in time whether colleges will or they won't be open in the fall. Obviously, we hope that they're open. We hope that everything's open. I'm doing this video from my couch right now because I can't do it at my office. But at the end of the day, it's I guess a possibility in a lot of students' minds that college is still closed in the fall and that it's online. Now that said, and I've spoken to many students about this already and just reviewed the comments on my TikTok, I don't know if people want to pay 70 G's to do Zoom school, right? I mean, it's just kind of a difficult concept for a lot of families to grasp, and I totally understand that. Now, how that's going to play out, I'm going to get into right now. So what a lot of students are considering is, instead of doing school online or matriculating to college and having to stay home, or just generally having a poor experience in many respects, like uncomfortable dorm life where you can't have the right number of students in a room, strange eating situations where cafeterias are closed, or events are canceled and there's no sports and there's no this and there's no that. A lot of students are not that interested in joining up in that kind of experience, especially if you're paying a lot of money, which I understand. So students are considering a gap year. Now, what is a gap year? The common misconception is that a gap year is just a year off, like you just need time. I'm sure that's what some students are doing, but students that take advantage of a gap year actually look at it more of like a bridge year, which some schools call it, or a year on rather than a year off, right? It's an opportunity to learn a new language, to travel, to experience new things, to learn more about yourself, to learn more about your interests, to volunteer, to work, to make money. I mean, there's so many different things you could do with it. At the end of the day, that's kind of up to you what you want to have your gap year be about, but basically it's a year off from school. Some call it a year on. So the big problem is a lot of students, instead of attending college next year, are just asking for 1 year deferment. That's going to be their gap year, but they're basically accepted to the school, but they're not attending this year. They're going to attend next year. Now, how does that bring a problem into play? Well, if those students are all pushing their acceptance over 1 year, they're still going to go to the school. They're just going to attend next year. What does that mean for the students next year? If that's, say, 1,000 kids, then there's 1,000 less spots that can be taken up next year. So a lot of people feel that the gap year trend is going to negatively affect college admissions for years to come, so that students will be pushing off college and then they'll be attending and there'll be less spots for students next year. Now, there's a million and one different ways that can play out, so we don't really know yet. Obviously, I wouldn't, feel too sad about it, but it could be that way. It could happen that way, or it could not, but we'll have to see. Now, the other way students could go with it is they could just simply tell all of their schools that they're not accepting any invitations to college, and they're going to reapply next year. Now, that is the other one that's really interesting, because then you're going to have students from class of 2020 applying again with class of 2021. A lot of them will go, to study more for the SAT or the ACT. They may take some classes and boost their GPA. They may take some college courses at a community college and have a better resume. They might work, they might travel. Their experiences and their resume is going to be drastically improved, and that is going to make it even more competitive if that's what people are going to do, which I've also heard that from a lot of students. So, it seems like it's going to make it more competitive in all respects. Now, say you are considering a gap year. What can you do with that time? Well, normally I would tell you travel, work, learn a new language, all that kind of stuff. Travel may be a little bit more difficult now because of the coronavirus rather than in years past. So that might be something that could be in question, but who knows? Hopefully things turn around, quickly, and we're able to do that. But I think I want to point you guys in the direction of a lot of programs. So there's actually 2 organizations. There's actually gap year associations, if you can believe that will guide you in the right direction. And I'm going to put the links to their websites below. You could check out their websites, gap year organizations, and they basically will point you in the right direction for various gap year programs. I'm going to discuss a few of those in a second, but basically they'll give you a list of programs they've accredited and that their students have gone to, so you can see that there's some good programs out there for you, and you can find which one's right for you. All right, so here's some of the kinds of programs that we have. We have foreign travel programs. They're immersion programs. So basically you travel to a foreign country, you experience the culture, you probably do some sort of community service. The idea would be to pick up some of the language as well. And those are pretty awesome. Obviously, those are usually a paid experience. If you're a volunteer, you might be able to get some kind of stipend, but I wouldn't necessarily call those a job. They are a great resume builder, and a lot of students feel that's a valuable investment. The second thing would be like internship programs. So a lot of these programs are related to internships. Obviously, you're going to probably work for free or very little, but if you can get some awesome job experience in your field or in your area of interest, not only can you build your interest in that area, but you could also learn a lot about yourself and a lot about, do I actually want to do what I think I want to do, or do I not? I think a little bit off the beaten path, there's even more extreme gap year programs where you actually learn like wilderness skills. Like they send you out into a kind of a camp situation, and you learn wilderness skills. You could learn about farming. There's numerous programs like that. I think those are more leaning towards the maturity crowd. Like you feel like you're not ready for college, so you want to spend some more time maturing, growing, learning about your life skills and your just general maturity, so that when you get to college, you're 100% ready for it and you're able to succeed. Some colleges even have awesome gap year programs. Like Princeton has a program that they call a bridge year, where you're able to engage in various programs. They let you defer your attendance for the school. You don't have to pay tuition, but you're still accepted. You can attend next year, and they set you up with an awesome program in another country. Who knows if those kind of programs are still going to be running with the whole COVID situation. But at the end of the day, under normal circumstances, and if those programs are running, that's obviously awesome. Obviously, you have to get into Princeton first, which is another topic. You can check out some of my other videos on stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that could be an awesome experience for the students that are able to get into that kind of program. Now, the crazy part about all these things I just mentioned is that they're probably going to take some kind of funds in order to get involved. Like you're either going to need enough money to survive, to support yourself during that time. If you're making some money, you might not be able to afford everything you need, or you might actually have to pay for the program. So the problem with a lot of these programs is that they are costly, and that you're going to have to ask your parents or someone else to kind of fund the program. And that's a replacement of college. I guess it's probably a lot cheaper than paying $70,000 to go away to college, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be costly. So it's not the kind of opportunity that everyone is going to have, and that's totally understandable. So now, what can you do if you can't contribute to one of those programs, or we're not allowed to go away, or whatever the case may be? Well, I think there's a lot of things you could do if you were to take a year off and have a gap year from school. You could take local courses at community colleges. You could try to learn a new language. You could start a charity. You could start contributing at your local charitable organizations. You could build a business. I mean, there's a million and one things that you can do. The one thing I would say is that all of these things take time and work. So the one thing you can't do is just take a year off, not go to college, and do nothing. Like that would be a terrible idea and would be good for absolutely no one. So what you need to do is take the time to really invest in yourself, learn about yourself, and grow as a person. All right, what are some other options? Instead of attending college and paying a lot of money to have school online, you could actually attend community college to save money and build up your credits. Hopefully those will be transferred. Or you could do a year at prep school, which is another very expensive route. I mean, unfortunately, all of these routes are expensive, so it's the kind of thing that you either need to have a very defined plan or have some funds to allocate to this. Now, what are the chances that this actually happens, where tons of kids are going to do their gap year? I've actually heard, especially in my TikTok comments, that a lot of students are actually going to do this. I know it's kind of hard to believe. You may not know anybody, but some people will. What percentage of people will that be? I don't know. It could be 1%. It could be less than 1%. It could be 5%. I actually have no idea, but I know some people will do it. And how will that affect college admissions going forward, I think is my final point and the most important one. All right, so people decide to take a gap year. Big deal. What does that mean? So like I was saying before, I think the trickle down effect is that there's going to be more qualified applicants than ever before for class of 2021 year. Because people will be delaying their application, they will be deferring their enrollment, and they're just going to be a lot more clogged up. So how can you differentiate yourself from the crowd during this time? Well, that's probably the reason that a lot of people are taking a gap year, so that they can spend time on charity, spend time on growing themselves, their personality, their experiences, their job experiences, obviously their finances if they want to afford college. I mean, there's so many ways that students can learn and grow during this time. There's a lot of positive that can be taken out of these kind of negative experiences. Like, I'm stuck at home, I'm doing these YouTube videos, I'm growing a following. That's awesome. I'm happy to do that. This is fun to me. Students need to find their own passions and do their own things. I've heard of students, starting free tutoring organizations. I've heard of students, sewing masks and sending them to hospitals. I mean, I've heard of students working at food banks. I mean, there's so many things that you can do during a gap year or, to build your resume to compete in an increasingly competitive environment. The other consideration, I think, is that with one extra year of time, people will study for standardized tests. They will retake them, and those tests will be back. So then the standards that those students will be achieving on those tests is going to go up, and that's going to make it even more competitive. So I think the whole cycle actually will make college even more competitive at the end of the day rather than less. I know a lot of people kind of feel that the disruption will make college easier. Yeah, I mean, they've already given out the acceptances, and we've had deadline day May 1st. I'm filming this video after that date, so the class of 2020 has already got that all figured out. Class of 2021, might get away with like lesser SAT, ACT requirements, but if people are deferring, then they're in a really tough spot. You kind of have to try to take the test when it does come back. So I think, knowing this and preparing yourself is the number one way to, achieve success, right? All right, so the last thing I'm going to say is, what should I do, right? I'm a student, I'm looking at this like, okay, well, should I take a gap year? Should I not? Let me put it this way. If you have a really strong idea, like this is something that I could do with my time in the gap year, this is something awesome that I can achieve that will build my resume, build my life experiences, make me a better person, make me a better applicant, make me a better student, then I'm all for it. If that's not the case, and for me in high school, I could tell you first, with great certainty that I would not have been able to come up with something like that. It would not have been for me. I think the other strong consideration is, what college are you looking to attend and what are your goals in college? If you're attending a college that's extremely, extremely expensive and that's financially burdensome, then I can understand not wanting to pay $70,000, $80,000 a year to not get the experience and not, get the kind of education you wanted. If you are attending a state school or a community college, then I would probably just proceed with that, because you're getting an awesome value, you're going to get an awesome education, and you'll be able to continue your career. Now, that said, I also want to make one more distinction. I want you to think about your goals for college, because people have very different goals. If my goal was a means to an end, I want to get a diploma, I want to get out there and I want to go for my career immediately, I want to make money, then I would just proceed and start college, right? Because then you're one step closer to your end goal, which is to make money and get a job. Now, a lot of people go to college for a different reason, and that's a very valid reason, is a life experience, right? I want to live away from home. I want to experience life on my own. I want to grow as a person. I want to mature. I want to get better at, self-sustainability. I want to get better at studying. I want to get better at work. I want to just get better as a person by experiencing that. I want the camaraderie. I want the companionship. I want the fun. I want the sports games, the fraternities, the sororities, just all the fun stuff that, comes along with college. If that's you, then I think a gap year is a stronger consideration, because having school online, obviously you're going to miss out on almost all of that, and you're going to be paying for the diploma, obviously, which has incredible value, but you're missing the life experience, which is the main reason why you're going to college. So I think put yourself in one of those two categories and really think about it. I think the last thing I would say is that, we're still waiting to see whether school is closed or not in the fall. If we're able to go to college in the fall, then you have nothing to worry about. But a lot of people had to make that decision now, or are going to have to make the decision in the near future. And taking a gap year, might be a good idea if you think that, you may not be able to get the experience that you want. That said, I want you to look at this from the positive perspective. We are going to get past this. You're still going to have an awesome college experience, and you're still going to get a great education, and that's what matters. At the end of the day, guys, the most important thing is that you make the right decision for yourself. So hopefully this video helped you do that. Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Nick the Tutor, and I appreciate your time. Hopefully you can make the right decision on taking a gap year or not. I'm out. Peace.